So what's the deal with square roots and that plus or minus thingy? When do we use it? When's the correct time to put it in? Do we need to? It is confusing and often taught incorrectly, but we're going to make mathematical history here and get it right. So stick around. So let's try example 1 here as a warm-up and just evaluate a few radical expressions. We're going to get to the explanation of the plus or minus in a second, but I just want to set the stage here. So the first one, here we have our radical symbol again, and the radicand, the number inside, is 16. So what is radical 16? What times itself equals 16? The answer is 4. Okay, we do not put a plus or minus here. We are simply looking for the positive square root of 16, which is 4, and that's it. Second one, negative radical 100. The minus just copies down, and then we're looking for the radical of 100. What times itself equals 100? The answer is 10. Okay, the negative square root of 100 is negative 10. And C, plus or minus radical 81. Here we're getting two questions, and we're going to give two answers. It's asking what is the positive square root of 81? The answer is positive 9, because 9 times 9 is 81. What is the negative square root of 81? Well, the answer there is negative 9. Okay, so it's asking two questions and we're giving two answers. Okay, this is asking what are both the positive and the negative square roots of 81, and the answers are plus and minus 9. The question could have said evaluate these square roots, but in this situation I find it more appropriate to call these radical expressions. And after a while I stop saying radical 16. After a while I just start saying root 16. It's easier to say. Like negative root 100 and plus or minus root 81. It's probably not 100% correct to say that, but it's just my habit. We're now getting into the nitty-gritty. In example 2, the question's asking, what are the square roots of 25? This is where we put the plus or minus in. Oh, finally. So to answer this question, in our minds, we're going to think this way. The square roots are what and what? There are going to be two square roots. And to figure out what the square roots are, by definition, a square root is a number that can go in here. What number squared equals 25? The obvious one, okay, 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, that's one of them. And this one is known as the positive square root of 25. Okay, and if we were going to calculate that, all right, before this step, there would actually be this step here, radical 25. And that equals 5, giving that one. Are there any other numbers that will go in here to give 25? Yes, there is one more, minus 5. Negative 5 times itself equals 25. Okay, multiply negative times negative and we get a positive. This one is the negative square root of 25. Okay, and a step before that can be written like this, negative radical 25, which is equal to negative 5. And right here, this is what explains the difference between a radical and a square root. We use the radical symbol to express the square roots. So to answer this question, we wouldn't say all this. All we need to say is the square roots of 25 are plus or minus radical 25, which is plus or minus 5. Okay, and that's all you need to say for that question. That easy. There is one more situation where we get to put the plus or minus in, and it's this one, when we're solving an equation of this form. And this is actually exactly the same as example 2. We are simply finding the two square roots of 64. And to do this, we just need to do these two steps. X squared equals 64. So what numbers squared can equal 64? The answers are plus or minus radical 64. Okay? In other words, the two square roots of 64 are the positive radical of 64 and the negative radical of 64. Remember the connection between radicals and square roots. Hopefully you got it now. And the final step, x is going to equal plus or minus, what is radical 64? It is 8. Okay, and there we go, solving that equation. We get to put the plus or minus in this situation. X equals plus or minus 8. So radical, square root, got the hang of it now? I hope so. Please try examples 4, 5, and 6. It is your turn. Example 4, just evaluate these radical expressions. Example 5, what are the square roots of 36? There are two. What are they? In example 6, solve the equation. X squared equals 9. Remember the connection between these two questions. They're very similar. Please share those answers in the comments section. And as always, thank you for watching.